Dear students, hope that you all are fine. Today we will try to understand the second part of this chapter, that's federalism. In today's class, we will try to understand contents like what makes India a federal country, how is federalism practiced, and decentralization in India. Let me first try to make you understand what makes India a federal country. Although the Constitution of India did not use the word federation, still the Indian Union is based on the principles of federalism. Let us go back to the features of federalism mentioned above. We see all those features applied to the provisions of the Indian Constitution. For example, there is a clear distribution of powers between different levels of the government like union and the states. It contains three lists as we know. Number one, there is union list that includes subjects of national importance such as defense, foreign affairs, banking, communication, and currency. Similarly, we have another list that is the state list. It contains subjects of state and local importance such as police, trade, commerce, agriculture, and irrigation. Only state governments have the jurisdiction to legislate over these subjects. Then there is one more list that is concurrent list. It includes the subjects of common interest to both the union as well as state governments such as education, forest, trade union, marriage, adoption, and succession. Only both the union as well as state governments can legislate on these subjects. In case of any conflict, the state central law prevails. Constitutional provisions are necessary for the success of federation, but these are not sufficient. If the federal experiments has succeeded in India, it's not merely because of the clearly laid out constitutional provisions, but the real success of federalism in India can be attributed to the nature of democratic politics in our country. This ensured that the spirit of federalism, respect for diversity, and desire for living together became shared ideal in our country. Some of the major ways in which all these things happened are creation of linguistic states. This was the first and major test for democratic politics in our country. Some states were also created not only on the basis of language but to recognize differences based on culture, ethnicity, or geography, such as Nagaland, Uttarakhand, and Jharkhand. Then there is language policy. The second test for Indian Federation is a language policy. Our constitution did not give the states of national language to any one language. Although Hindi was identified as the official language, but there were many safeguards to protect other languages also. There is center-state relationship. Restructuring the center-state relationship is one more way in which federalism has been strengthened in practice. Since the time of independence, the central government has tried to strengthen the relations with the state governments. Sometimes national parties entered in the alliance with the regional parties to form the coalition governments. This led to a new culture of power sharing and respect for the autonomy of state governments. Now we will try to understand decentralization in India. So far we have discussed the two types of government in our country, that is the union or central government and the state or the provincial governments. But when power is taken away from the center and the state governments and given to local governments, it is called decentralized. The need for decentralization was recognized in our constitution. Since then, several attempts were made to decentralize power to the levels of villages and towns. Thus, panchayats in villages and municipalities in urban areas were set up in all states. The basic idea behind decentralization is that there are a large number of problems and issues which are best settled at the local level. Thanks. See you again in the next class.